Hello, good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Money Garden. And today it's Wednesday, Women Wednesday. So I wanted to take a step back. I've been talking about originally that on Women Wednesdays we're always going to cover some topics with respect to women, women's empowerment, women's leadership. It's definitely one of my passions. But then I started realizing, and I spoke to a lot of women, and I realized that there is some confusion around to the definition of what is even women's empowerment. So I decided I'm going to take a step back today and pause a second on this particular question. And today, in today's episode, I'm going to address two particular points, if you will, around women's empowerment. So one is the definition, and I took the definition from really Google because there is separately women and there's separately empowerment, the word empowerment in a dictionary, but there isn't women's empowerment together. So, but there is a definition out there, so we're going to address today the definition. What does it actually mean, and why is empowerment, and where does it come from, or how it came about, right? So number one, the definition. What is women's empowerment, guys? Well, women's empowerment, so in general, empowerment means to elaborate, to recreate, to give power to someone. So in this particular case, since we're exploring the notion of women's empowerment, in this case, the definition would be it is a process to elaborate, evaluate, and recreate anything that they, women, can be and they can do. So it's basically broken down in simple terms means that now we are given the power to be our best potential, to reach our potential, to do anything that we can be and create anything that we want to do or we want to create. So that's basically the definition of women's empowerment. And then the second point that I wanted to make, well, why is it called women's empowerment? How did it came about? Well, the notion of empowerment comes from the implied previous position that we must come from a position of disempowerment. And that essentially is true for women, because why? Well, we've come such a long way, right? But not always in history, it took us a long time to get all these different rights that we have today. Like, for example, the right to vote, right? Women didn't always have the right to vote. We were in a position of disempowerment. We were not empowered. The right to go to school, to get an education. Women were not allowed to go and get an education, and certainly maybe then when it started, when they were allowed to go get a first, second, third grade education, there was a long time in history when women were not allowed to apply to colleges or universities or higher grade education. So the right to get an education. The right to a career, there was a long time when women were not allowed to go and get jobs or have careers, or the right to be independent, right? So independent meaning, I think, it wasn't always where women were allowed to file for divorce if they wanted to divorce their husband, their significant other. So to be independent, to be on their own, that was also a right. So we as women, for a long time in history, we came from these places of disempowerment that we didn't have some of these rights that men did, which is why we were so much more disempowered. But guess what? Today, that's not the case anymore, you guys. Now we have all these rights. We can vote. We can file for divorce. We can be independent. We can go to school. We can certainly build a career if we want to. We can go for any job. Now, before anybody, raises their hand and say, yes, but I'm still being discriminated. Yes, there's still discrimination, and that's a whole different topic, and I don't want to go into it right now. But the fact that we have that right, in fact, we have laws today that protect these rights for women. That is true, and that's a fact. So today, I just wanted to take us back, just clarify this whole idea of women's empowerment. What does it mean? It means that previously we came from a place of disempowerment. We did not have the right to do some of these things. But now today, we not only we have the right to do them, we are in many cases, in many situations, we are actually empowered. We are given different tools. We are given different resources. And certainly the biggest tool and biggest resource is us, ourselves, that we can go out there now and we can create, we can do everything and all that we want to do, and we can be everything and all that we want to be in the world. So I hope that helps understanding a little about women's empowerment. And then next week on women's empowerment, I want to take it a step. The next step is and talk about the different factors that are essential to women's empowerment, and what is it that we need to foster, what is it that we need to nurture in society to ensure that really women do truly become empowered to be and do anything they want to do. So I hope that helped you guys. Thank you so much for joining in, and then I'll see you guys Friday.